Good afternoon. Today we have a pleasure of having conversation with Mr. Ted Scott. We have a long history of our relationship and I'm so excited to share it with my audience. And of course, thank you very much for people listening to this conversation. I'm sure you're going to learn a lot from that.
Thank you, Dr. Sokolina. It's nice to be here today with you.
I really appreciate that, but you were able to have this conversation. And I'm gonna tell our audience about a long history of our relationship. It's actually started more than 10 years ago in your pulmonologist, Dr. Dikenkel office. And at that time, I was introduced to you. You were introduced to me actually as the best patient with the CPAP machine. You had absolutely perfect compliance, which is really rare. And I was already impressed by that, and we start our journey. But I'm going to ask you today, can you please tell us your story? How this story with the CPAP machine started, and what was the event, what brought you to Dr. Dikenkel office? Please share your story with us.
Sure, glad to do so. Thank you. So my story begins with sleeping at home. My wife next to me, um, after about 5 years of marriage, started to notice more and more snoring, getting progressively worse, and that got me to seeking some remedy for that. So I reached out to Dr. DeKinko, who put me through a sleep study, and through that we learned that I had varying degrees of snoring depending on whether I was in supine or on my side or whatever. They had me in all different positions, and the snoring was there. And so our doctor recommended to me a CPAP as a remedy for solution, which I thought was great. I got embraced it right away. I had initial success with that, using it every night. The snoring went away, and for a period of time, all was good.
I just want to share with our audience about your sleep study. And you allowed me to share that you stop breathing 20 times an hour, which we consider moderate sleep apnea. Can you please tell us what was the step or what was the signal what made you search for new solutions such as oral appliance therapy? Because I had the pleasure of offering you that type of therapy.
Well, after the initial success with the CPAP, which was really good, as I said, for improving the quality of sleep overall, I began to develop some of the side effects of also using the device. And the uh, most poignant one was the from time to time in the mornings, I would wake up with extreme congestion, runny nose that just seemed to last for days and days. And so I knew somehow something with this solution wasn't just perfect. It did have some benefits, but it had side effects that I was really struggling with. Um, there were times that I would have meetings with different people, and I just have to cancel them because, especially as we got closer to the age of COVID, you can't be around people sneezing. So yeah, I had to figure out another solution for the CPAP.
I would like to ask you, you were so successful with oral appliance therapy, but another thing what I'm so proud of, you had a combination treatment. Of course, it cannot be one method of treatment for all, periods of life. Can you please tell us about your way of using combination therapy? I'm talking about combining CPAP and oral appliance. How did you, manage that?
Well, the first step towards moving towards the oral appliance was it was actually generated by the need to travel, and I was traveling quite a bit with my business at the time, and I found it much easier to maneuver through the airports and through security with the oral appliance as compared to the CPAP. So that became my device that I would always use on the road. But I also found myself using the oral appliance in combination with the CPAP when at home. And especially during the times when I'm actually dealing with the side effects of the sinus congestion and those types of things. When those conditions happen for me, I quit using the CPAP immediately and then went straight to using the oral appliance because there's just no way I would put this mask on my face. It would just exacerbate the problem. And now I'm just breathing in and out the same bacteria, which is just causing the sinus symptoms just get worse. So that's how I was using them in combination, and that was actually pretty successful for a while too, because it just it at least gave my body a chance to recover from the sinus infections, while also still controlling the snoring.
Yeah, this is amazing story. I like what you mentioned about all these symptoms, because a lot of my patients who use the CPAP machine, they complain on the same symptoms, and they feel they're alone. They feel congestion, they feel dryness in the mouth, everything what you describe, and a lot of sinus infection. And what I highly admire, how you constantly search for different solutions. You never stop searching, and I think, in the end of our story, people would know how well you were rewarded for that. But I absolutely respect for that, creating optimization with the treatment, I have to say. But of course, I would like you to share your experience with another treatment what I offer after oral appliance therapy. Mr. Ted use clear appliance therapy and myofunctional therapy together. It was the next step after oral appliance therapy to address the sleep apnea. And this is, I would say, quite revolutionary treatment. Not a lot of people are aware of that, but I explain you what we can accomplish, and you support my offer, and you were very successful on that pathway. Can you please share your experience on that journey with clear aligners and myofunctional therapy?
Well, I have to say that, and I still thank you for that advice, because I got very excited about it, because it's the first time, I have to say, that in dealing with any doctors I've had a relationship with where we were actually focused on what I thought was solving a problem. Where the appliance and the CPAP were, while they were good at solving symptoms, the symptoms never went away, and therefore I'm actually using this device now as a crutch forever. The move towards the myofunctional therapy seemed to be the first time that we've ever, in any kind of medical dealings I had to do with, where we were actually trying to solve the root cause of the problem. And so, all of the exercises, and it took me some time, and I practiced them diligently. Some of them were kind of awkward to master, but I over time I began to feel the benefits of them, and I'm enjoying some of the benefits today because I'm not using appliance or CPAP now. So I really still thank you for all of that.
Oh, I appreciate it so much, and it's very nice to hear that. I know I heard that, and you mentioned that, but it's still very pleasant and very rewarding to hear. And I want to share with my audience what the treatment Mr. Ted we initiate, and Mr. Ted was following the instruction, actually brought him significant reward. When he had a sleep study, repeated sleep study without oral appliance, without the CPAP machine, from he was just sleeping after the course of myofunctional therapy, he didn't have any episodes of sleep apnea at all. Originally, just want to remind you, originally it was 20 times a minute he used to stop breathing, but now it's only 1.5. So we don't consider it sleep apnea, and that was very pleasant to see, and I'm very thankful for you follow my instructions. But I want to mention what clear aligners increase size of your jaw, and with the exercise we were able to teach you new way of swallowing your food, holding your tongue on a spot, holding your lips together, and breathe through your nose. And I know it sounds maybe not so difficult, but it's actually very difficult. And most difficult thing in myofunctional therapy, I personally found, is to incorporate in our busy routine. We are extremely busy, and anything additional seems like that's it, I can't take it no more. Please share your secret, how you were able to incorporate it, myofunctional therapy, into your routine. And of course, be diligent with clear aligners as well.
Yes, well, it was actually, as you say, awkward at first, and I found myself probably the last one leaving the table. But uh, the whole process of digesting food and all now is a much slower process because it's a little more deliberate. But there are definitely benefits to that as well. So, digestion is better. I'm still the last one to leave the table because I've just not given that up, and it's just been a part of it's just become a part of routine life, and I think that's actually a good thing as well. Um, and I think the whole experience has actually really been good in that regard, and I have actually incorporated that part. Yes, I definitely do not breathe through my mouth anymore. It's all nasal breathing.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
yes, and I mean, I'll also think that just with the way my teeth formation is, just the position of my tongue in my mouth, not pressing against the front teeth and keeping it in that spot, all kind of contributes and adds to everything that goes along with the aligners. Which, by the way, thank you again for my perfectly straight teeth.
Oh, it's so nice to hear. But now I want to ask you, Mr. Ted, what was your aha moment? What did you learn about yourself by going through this journey of myofunctional therapy?
It was actually a very interesting journey. As I said, yeah, it was a series at first of, well, what was curious is just being handed this little bag of goodies, and I had no idea what was in the bag. And when I did look in, it was just a very odd collection of things which I had no idea what they were. But as we went through the journey, I still had the bag and I still use them. It was excellent because these are the tools that are actually teaching me how to use this involuntary muscle, which I just discovered, my tongue, and the different ways that it can actually move and things that it can do. And what was interesting about it all is I found myself with this muscle that I use to a limited capacity each day, but I really did not have full control over. So some of those initial exercises were very awkward, and it took some practice to actually master them. But with some diligence, it can be done, and I did it, and I'm enjoying some of the benefits of that as well. So it has been the aha moment. There is just understanding that you here is this muscle that you really can control, and in doing so, it's now helping to strengthen your the back of your tongue, your throat, which is all having this positive impact on the core problem, which was snoring. And so, again, I'm very grateful for all of that.
That's so nice. We made you happy and we made your wife happy in the same time. And I think it's very rewarding.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it still make me to think about that, make me feel warm inside. And I would like to ask you and to introduce to our audience what you actually Renaissance man. You have a lot of talents, and one of your talent is playing trumpet. Can you please share with our audience how that skill was improved with myofunctional therapy?
Well, yes, indeed. That is one of my pastime passions when I'm not doing my regular job. And it one of the most important things that we find about is that most trumpet players would tell you is that the embouchure is the one of the key elements in actually playing the instrument, and it kind of dovetails from where the myofunctional uh, hands off because it myofunctional is all about um, training the oral cavity, not just the tongue. And so some of those exercises actually are involving different muscles around the lips and the facial muscles. And the idea just with the tongue of actually being able to control those muscles, oftentimes when they are actually moving in contrary motion, which is also awkward. But that level of concentration and control is something that actually benefits one of my passions, and it also just kind of dovetails even into just my regular work because I find that just my ability to concentrate and go very very detailed is is actually very very good, and I think that's a part of the training for myofunctional therapy.
This is so nice, but some benefits we discover on a journey with you, but it's very pleasant to hear. And now I would like to ask you, Ted, what like a grain of wisdom of something important. What you got, you basically, got through all the different, not all probably, but through a lot of different possibilities of sleep apnea treatment: CPAP machine, oral appliance, myofunctional therapy, clear aligners, and your sleep apnea from 20 events an hour was reduced to 1.5 events an hour without any, any, you sleep without any device right now. Can you please share like a philosophical wisdom, what you can recommend our audience on the journeys they have, what they stay inspired from your success?
Okay, yes. Well, look, I would only say that I have great respect for doctors. After having put a couple of kids through school, I can only imagine what it's like being a physician going through all the training that has to be done. But at the end of the day, when we're being treated, we are being treated uh, for symptoms or issues that we have with our bodies. And so we do as individuals have a certain amount of responsibility for taking the lead and and at least driving the direction of where some of this treatment is headed. And it's not to say that we should ever stop going to doctors or don't listen to the great advice that they give you, but also don't be afraid to have a voice or some input that just might nudge that decision that the doctor is making in one direction or the other. And so for me personally, that that whole step towards the journey from CPAP through oral appliance through myofunctional therapy and the aligners kind of attest to that because while one solution seemed to work okay, it had the side effects, and I could have settled for the side effects and just went through life with occasional symptoms of sinus issues and whatever that would lead to. But I didn't actually stop there just because I could see the problems or potential problems with that. And so my only advice is that don't be afraid to look into other options and don't ever settle for just one solution that kind of fits all. That is kind of the easy way out. And if you're really trying to get to really solving root causes of problems, you really shouldn't actually stop until you reach that goal. And don't be afraid to have a voice and say, hey, listen, I think this works, but I'm trying to get to something better.
Oh, thank you very much. It's so much wisdom. What I always say to my patients, that's your health. And even though I'm trying to be your advocate, but it's still your health. And just like you mentioned, I cannot feel how it is for you to have that treatment, and it's so important what you share it with me. And we found finally the solution would help you to resolve this issue, and I'm so thankful for that. And again, I want to give a words to our audience. If they have any questions for you, they can put it in the chat box, and we will definitely with Mr. Ted help find you the answer. And we appreciate you listening to our Facebook channel. And again, Mr. Ted, thank you very much for sharing this important piece of information. And I'm sure your story is going to be inspiring to a lot of people. Again, thank you very much. We really appreciate having you.
Thank you, Dr. Sokolina.